Hello and welcome to my channel. Thank you for joining me today. Today I'm going to be doing a candle and trying to do it so it looks like it's melting. And I'm using the Koh I Noor discs, the watercolour disc set, and some coloured crayons and some coloured wax pastels. And I think that's it. Oh yeah, and at the end I'm going to be putting some iridescent medium on. And the one I'm using is a Winsor & Newton iridescent and it's the silver one. So if you're joining us for the first time, we have new tutorials and demonstrations every Monday and Thursday on a variety of media and subjects, mostly aimed at beginners. So if you want to get more tutorials like this one, you can subscribe below, and don't forget there's a little bell that you also need to click on, which will give you updates of when things are uploaded. And I also today want to thank those of you who have taken part in the little poll that I put up the other day. There's something quite new to YouTube which is called Community, and you might have noticed this on one or two other YouTubers channels where you get these little polls and things coming up. And if you actually go onto my profile page, you will see a tab there that says Community, and you can go on there and still do that poll if you haven't already done it. And it was really just asking you which media you preferred to work in, and then that will help me decide what videos to do in the future. And it would seem that a lot of you like working in watercolour. So I enjoyed last week doing a Santa Claus using these discs because they've got lovely bright colours. So I thought I would have another go with them to do this candle. Now this candle's out of the imagination, and I just wanted to get that feel of it melting and the nice flame and a nice dark background. In the end, the background perhaps wasn't quite dark enough. You need to get a lot of colour off these discs to try and get really dark, and I didn't manage to do that. You can see how much colour I needed to get out to make a wash that was dark. So when you're doing that, don't use your best brushes. I used a synthetic brush because you've really got to try and lift a lot more colour than you would with a more expensive artist's watercolour. But having said that, they're lovely bright colours and they do work well for this kind of thing. I like the way they work wet in wet together actually, and using them wet on dry. So the main thing with working wet in wet is that of course you use a higher concentration of paint in your second application, and you'll see that I do that a lot, just using them straight off the disc. But you'll also see that I've got a margin there, and I'm testing the colours all the time, because with these discs the colour, you cannot tell what colour it is just by looking at it. You've got to test it in the margin, so it's always a good idea to have a margin to test your colours, whatever media you're working with. So at the end I was really happy with the flame and the candle itself. I wasn't so happy with the dish at the bottom and the bits and bobs that I put in the dish. It was a little bit too fussy, and the dish itself wasn't very well drawn. It didn't look like it was sitting properly on the table. So maybe if you want to do it yourself, you could simplify that, just have the candle on without much of a base at all, or you could make the base much more interesting and use a reference or a plate to copy, and perhaps put one or two big baubles and a nice big piece of holly rather than them little bitty things that I put in. But you'll have time to have a play around with that and get your drawing ideas together before you start. So one thing I did like was the background. I sort of made it look as if there was maybe a Christmas tree in the distance, and used the wax resist to get that. So to begin with I did a pencil drawing, then I outlined using the crayons. This is just a tin of various colours that I've got. Some of them are water soluble, some of them aren't, just to outline the image, and it made it show up and easy to paint. Then I wet the paper behind. Oh, sorry, before that I obviously put the wax resist on, and I just used three different colours. You could use more different colours. I wanted it to look like there was maybe a Christmas tree in the background, so I used those different colours for the lights. Then I wet the whole background, leaving the candle and the dish dry, and then applied quite a dark green. If you wanted to go darker, you could use some much darker colours, some greys, some blacks, some blues. I added some blue to the third application. I was doing it wet in wet, you'll see, and I did the table like an orangey colour and let that mix with the green, and that worked quite nicely for some shadows. And I sort of made out a Christmas tree shape, not a proper shape, but just as if it was a long way in the distance maybe, and I wanted the candle to come forward, so I didn't do any more detail in that background. I just let those colours merge into each other wet on wet, and then left it. It's never a good idea to go back into your backgrounds once you've done them. And then obviously just added the colours one at a time, testing them on the margin to check the colours to that candle and all the bits and bobs in the bottom. And I do like the way that these Koh I Noor mix together on the paper, I really do. You'll notice with the flame, I took a little bit of the colour out of the centre. If you look at a flame, it's much lighter where it's hottest. So around the outside edge you get more yellow, and in the centre and to the base nearest to the wick you'll get it more white. So have a look at that, have a look at your flames and see where they are. And obviously around it it's glowing more, so you don't want the dark of the background to be right up to the flame. Try and leave a little bit of a space between. So I'm thinking what else I was going to tell you. Yeah, so the iridescent, this Winsor & Newton iridescent media, it's very thick. If you put it on as thick as it comes out of the tub, the pot, you can cover your colours up. So just thin it out, you know, with your brush, smooth it out so that your colours still come through it. And you can add water to it if you want it to be, and you can even add it actually into your washes. So for instance, when I was doing that wash of the background, had you wanted to, you could have added some of the iridescent media into that and just paint it on with your watercolours. But I just wanted it in a few places and put it on with a brush, but then thinned it out. If you put it on really heavily, you will cover the colour up that you've already got there. So I think that's more or less everything I was going to tell you about this candle. I wanted it to look like it was melting and get all those drips down the side, and have a practice at doing flames really, because they're not the easiest thing to do, and tried to simplify it. And I should really have simplified that base. Like I said, I'm not happy with the base, but I enjoyed doing it, and that's the main thing. And I enjoyed playing with these discs. If you didn't see the video I did of Santa Claus last week using these colours, I'll put the link to that up above, because they really lend themselves to things that are bright, things at this time of year. So yeah, have a go at a candle. I didn't have a reference, but there'll be plenty of candle photographs on the internet if you want to use a reference to do it, and just have a bit of a play with the backgrounds. I think it looks nice to have a very dark background and maybe go a lot darker than I did. So thank you very much for watching. I'll be back again with you soon with another video, and in the meantime enjoy the rest of this one. And if you have any questions, as usual, if you want to pop those in the comments below, and I will get back to you as soon as possible. The paper I used today was £140 not pressed watercolour paper, and as usual everything is in the description below. There's two links there to Amazon, one to amazon.com and one to amazon.co.uk, with most of the materials that I use in my videos. So I shall see you again soon. Once again, thanks for watching, and bye for now.